Everyone is trying to make you feel something. Anger, guilt, urgency, fear. They pull your emotions like strings because emotion is control. When you react, you're manipulated. When you stay calm, you're untouchable. They want you to care about their drama. They want you to absorb their chaos. They want you to dance to their emotional rhythm. But you don't have to. You can train immunity, psychological armor that makes manipulation impossible. This isn't suppression. It's control. It's not coldness. It's clarity. This is emotional immunity. And it will teach you how to stop feeling what they want you to feel and start focusing only on what moves your mission forward. Chapter 1. They're programming your emotions. The hidden system. Every day, your emotions are being programmed. Not by accident, by design. Every headline you read, every video you watch, every conversation you enter, all engineered to make you feel something fast. Fear, outrage, excitement, guilt. The system runs on reaction because reaction equals attention, and attention equals control. They don't need to control your body. They just need to control your mood. If they can steer how you feel, they can steer what you do. That's the invisible war, psychological control through emotional engineering. The media feeds you fear. Marketers feed you urgency. Coworkers feed you validation traps. You think you're deciding. You're not. You're reacting to programming. And every reaction reinforces the code. Here's what you must understand. When you react, you obey. When you stay calm, you command. You have a choice. That's the key. 2. The architecture of manipulation. Imagine your mind as a control board. Every button is an emotion, and everyone around you knows which buttons to press. They've studied it. They know exactly how to make you panic, how to make you buy, how to make you doubt yourself. They do it subtly, through tone, through timing, through repetition. It's not random. It's calculated conditioning. They want you exhausted from reacting. They want your focus fragmented, because a divided mind can't see patterns. And if you can't see patterns, you can't predict control. The strong build filters. The weak absorb everything. You have to become your own firewall. Every emotion that enters must be questioned. Who benefits from me feeling this right now? Most of the time, it's not you. You have a choice. You can remain a puppet of emotional architecture, or you can cut the strings. Detach first. Observe second. Act third. Never reverse the order. Control is everything. 3. The illusion of empathy. They will tell you that detachment is cold. That neutrality means you don't care. That's the trap. They weaponize empathy to keep you emotionally engaged. They tell you, you must react. It's human. But that's not empathy. That's manipulation disguised as morality. They want you to confuse reaction with compassion. But compassion doesn't require chaos. It requires clarity. The weak drown in others' emotions and call it connection. The strong maintain composure and call it mastery. Imagine 2 people in a storm. One panics. One anchors. Who saves who? The calm one. Always. If you want to help others, control yourself first. You cannot lift anyone while sinking in their emotions. That's the law. The manipulated believe feeling everything is virtue. The disciplined know choosing what to feel is power. Detach. Don't absorb. Observe. You have a choice. That's the key. 4. Training emotional immunity. Emotional immunity isn't built through isolation. It's built through observation. Every situation that once provoked you is a training ground now. The insult, the argument, the judgment, all drills for self-control. You don't rise above emotion by avoiding it. You rise above it by processing it without participation. Here's what you do. When triggered, pause. When baited, wait. When attacked, analyze. Your mind is a forge. Every emotional blow is a hammer. Each strike refines your strength if you don't react. You're not suppressing emotion. You're mastering it. The practice is simple. 3 seconds of silence before every reaction. That silence rewires the brain. That silence builds immunity. You start small, one argument resisted, one post ignored, one urge enacted. Over time, you stop taking the bait entirely. And when the bait stops working, the trap disappears. You have a choice. Control is everything. 5. Commanding the field. The moment you detach emotionally, the power dynamic flips. You become the observer, not the participant. They lose control the instant you stop reacting. Silence becomes your weapon. Stillness becomes your shield. Observation becomes your offense. The manipulator panics when their tactics fail. They escalate emotion to force reaction. You give them nothing. No validation. No energy. No entry. That's when you realize calmness isn't passive. It's predatory. You see every move before it's made. From that vantage point, you dominate reality. Not through aggression, through awareness. You control yourself, which means you control the field. You no longer waste energy proving, defending, or explaining. You conserve it for execution. That's how mental giants are made, through disciplined detachment, through total emotional sovereignty. The weak will never understand. They think emotion is expression. It's not. It's leverage. The strong use it sparingly, strategically, intentionally. Discipline doesn't negotiate. And emotional control is the highest form of discipline there is. You've learned the first principle of emotional immunity, awareness. You now see the strings of manipulation and the cost of reaction. Your next task is refinement. How to maintain calm in chaos without losing compassion. You've seen control. Now it's time to master silence. Chapter 2. The Trap of Emotional Contagion. 1. The Infection. Emotions spread faster than truth, faster than logic, faster than disease. You catch moods like you catch colds, through exposure. One anxious person infects 10 others. One angry post infects 1,000. One fearful headline infects a nation. Most people don't realize they're carriers. They absorb other people's chaos and broadcast it through tone, words, and energy. Their emotions become public Wi-Fi, open connection, no password, full contamination. That's why the world feels louder, heavier, more volatile. Because everyone's emotions are blending into one shared hysteria. No one is thinking, they're just transmitting. Here's the rule. What you don't guard, you absorb. And what you absorb, you become. The weak think empathy means merging. The strong know empathy means discernment. You can understand someone's pain without inheriting it. You can witness emotion without carrying it. That's the key. You have a choice. 2. Emotional environments. You are the average of the emotions you spend time around. Spend a week around panic, you'll start to shake. Spend a week around anger, you'll start to snap. Spend a week around peace, you'll start to breathe again. Your nervous system mirrors its environment. It doesn't ask for permission. It adapts automatically. That's why emotional awareness is survival. You can't train clarity in a fog. You can't build composure in a crowd that celebrates chaos. Imagine a clean glass of water. Now drop in 1 drop of ink. The clarity is gone. That's what emotional contagion does. One toxic mood can stain an entire system. So here's what you do. Audit your proximity. Scan your circle. Who brings storms? Who brings silence? Who amplifies your calm and who drains it? If you don't build emotional boundaries, you'll live by someone else's chemistry. Control is everything. 3. The crowd effect. The crowd doesn't think. It feels. It amplifies every emotion until it becomes collective insanity. Fear becomes outrage. Outrage becomes violence. Violence becomes identity. This is how control works on a mass scale. Not through laws, but through emotion. They don't need your agreement. They need your reaction. The moment you feel what they want, You act how they want. You buy what they sell. You fight who they choose. You believe what they repeat. The herd lives in permanent reaction mode. The disciplined live in observation mode. The weak react. The strong wait. Here's the move. When the crowd surges, you pause. When emotion spikes, you breathe. When the world screams, you go silent. That's how you break the spell. That's how you stay free inside collective madness. Discipline doesn't negotiate. 4. Building the filter. You can't stop the world from shouting, but you can stop it from entering. That's what your emotional filter is for. The mental firewall between stimulus and self. It's built through 3 layers. First, awareness, noticing the emotion that enters. Second, questioning, asking if it belongs to you. Third, rejection, refusing to host what isn't yours. This filter is your internal immune system. Without it, every encounter infects you. With it, nothing sticks for long. Here's what you do. When you feel sudden anger, pause and ask, did this originate with me? When you feel anxiety rise, ask, was I calm 5 minutes ago? If not, you've caught someone else's emotion. Reject it. Send it back through silence. Return to neutrality. Every rejection strengthens your filter. Every pause reinforces your control. You have a choice. You could be an antenna or fortress. That's the key. 5. Immunity through stillness. The highest immunity isn't resistance. It's stillness. When you are still, emotion passes through you. It doesn't stick. It doesn't spread. Stillness doesn't mean inaction. It means unshakable presence. You observe emotion like weather, passing systems, not personal storms. You don't fight the rain. You stay dry by standing under shelter. That shelter is your inner calm. The moment you lose it, you're soaked in the emotions of others. Train stillness the same way soldiers train awareness. 10 minutes a day. No phone, no noise, just breath and observation. You'll notice how many borrowed emotions try to enter, and you'll stop letting them in. That's emotional immunity, not walls, but filters. Not suppression, but sovereignty. Control is everything. You have a choice. You've learned how emotion spreads and how to block infection. You've seen how crowds think, how moods multiply, and how stillness protects you from contamination. Now it's time to go deeper, to master the source of emotional energy itself. Attention. You've built filters. Now build focus. Chapter 3. The Attention Parasite. 1. The Currency of Control. Attention is the most valuable currency in the world. Not money, not time. Attention. Every company, influencer, and manipulator knows it. They don't need your agreement. They just need your focus. Because focus fuels power. And what you focus on, you feed. Every click is an offering. Every reaction, a transfer of energy. Every argument, a donation of attention. They don't care if you love them or hate them. They just care that you look. Because attention doesn't differentiate emotion. It only measures intensity. You think you're observing the world. But most days, the world is feeding on you. Every second of distraction strengthens the parasite. Every moment of focus weakens you. This is the real war, not for land, but for your gaze. You have a choice. Feed the parasite or starve it. That's the key. 2. The mechanics of drain. The parasite works in silence. It hides behind your curiosity. It disguises itself as relevance, news, connection. You scroll because you think you're learning. You watch because you think you're relaxing. But what you're really doing is bleeding focus drop by drop. Each notification is a hook. Each headline is a net. Each emotional post is a harvest. They call it engagement. But what it really means is entanglement. When your mind is pulled in every direction, it can't hold still long enough to think. When you can't think, you can't act with precision. And when you can't act with precision, you're controllable. That's how the parasite wins, by keeping you emotionally noisy and mentally tired. The weak chase stimulation. The strong guard attention like oxygen. You have to choose. Every distraction is a small death of potential. Control is everything. 3. The law of attention economics. The parasite economy has one rule. If it costs your attention, it profits someone else. Every app, every ad, every argument follows this rule. Their goal isn't to serve you. It's to loop you. The longer you stay, the weaker you become. Because focus is finite. Energy is finite. Willpower is finite. You wake up with a limited budget, and you spend it on noise. Most people go broke before noon. That's why their minds are restless. That's why their lives feel chaotic. They've given away all their focus to things that don't return value. Imagine a warrior giving his sword to the enemy before battle. That's what you do when you spend your morning on distraction. You can't fight for your goals with a drained mind. You can't build power with attention scattered across triviality. Here's the move. Audit your attention the same way you'd audit your money. Track where it goes. Eliminate what doesn't compound. Every reclaimed minute is a deposit back into sovereignty. Discipline doesn't negotiate. 4. Fasting from stimulation. You don't fix distraction with productivity apps. You fix it with abstinence. It's called attention fasting, voluntary deprivation to reset your nervous system. Here's how you do it. For 24 hours, consume nothing. No news, no feeds, no entertainment. Just silence, tasks, and thought. You'll feel restless. You'll feel withdrawal. That's proof you've been addicted. Attention fasting isn't punishment. It's purification. When you stop feeding on noise, you start tasting clarity again. Your thoughts return. Your intuition returns. Your focus becomes weaponized. Every fast weakens the parasite. Every silence strengthens your control. Make it a ritual. Once a week. No screens. No scrolls. Only stillness. You'll discover something terrifying. How much of your personality was shaped by what you consumed. And something liberating, how quickly it dissolves when you stop. You have a choice. Feed it or free yourself. 5. Turning focus into power. Once you reclaim attention, you gain the rarest power in the modern world, presence. When you're fully present, manipulation fails. Noise fades. Time expands. Focus becomes force. Because when you can hold one thought, one task, one goal without deviation, you dominate the distracted. In a world addicted to noise, the calm mind rules. In a world that chases validation, the silent mind creates value. In a world of parasites, the disciplined become predators. You become dangerous, not through aggression, but through direction. Here's what to do next. Build a 3-rule code for your focus. Rule 1, no reaction without intention. Rule 2, no consumption without creation. Rule 3, no attention without return. Live by those 3, and your power compounds daily. Every minute of focus builds momentum. Every hour of clarity builds dominance. Every day of control builds sovereignty. You don't rise by doing more. You rise by leaking less. Focus is the foundation of emotional immunity. Because if they can't capture your attention, they can't program your emotion. You have a choice. Control is everything. Discipline doesn't negotiate. You've now taken back the foundation of control, your focus. You exposed the parasite, learned to starve it, and reclaim the mental space to think independently. Now it's time to separate control from coldness, to learn how neutrality builds strength, not numbness. You've built focus. Now build depth. Chapter 4, Emotional Neutrality is Not Numbness. 1. The misunderstanding of control. People confuse neutrality with indifference. They think that not reacting means not feeling. They think calm equals cold. That's ignorance, not insight. Emotional neutrality is not numbness. It's precision. It's the ability to feel without being ruled by feeling. Numbness is escape. Neutrality is awareness. When you're numb, you avoid emotion. When you're neutral, you absorb it fully, then decide what to do with it. That's control. The weak repress. The strong regulate. Neutrality is emotional intelligence at its highest frequency, where energy is noticed, not obeyed. Imagine a commander on a battlefield. If he panics, the army collapses. If he feels nothing, he loses humanity. But if he feels everything and still commands, that's mastery. That's what neutrality is. Feeling deeply, acting decisively. You have a choice. 2. The myth of the stone face. Society glorifies emotional display and condemns composure. You're told that to be authentic, you must constantly express, share, vent. That's false authenticity. The loudest person is rarely the most genuine, just the least regulated. Real authenticity is stability. It's alignment between emotion and intention. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, he contains it. He channels it. He directs it toward creation, not reaction. Think of a dam holding back a river. It's not denying water. It's concentrating power. That pressure becomes energy. The same applies to emotion. The disciplined don't hide feelings, they harness them. Anger becomes drive. Fear becomes vigilance. Sadness becomes reflection. That's not numbness. That's conversion. Anyone can feel. Few can direct feeling with precision. You have a choice to drown in the flood or master the flow. Control is everything. 3. The physics of energy. Emotion is energy in motion, and energy must move somewhere. The undisciplined let it move outward through reaction, complaint, aggression, display. The disciplined move it inward through focus, endurance, silence, and creation. That's the difference between emotional discharge and emotional power. One weakens, one strengthens. When you get angry and shout, you lose energy. When you get angry and act with precision, you gain energy. Emotion itself isn't the enemy. Mismanagement is. Here's what you do. When emotion arises, don't name it immediately. Naming creates identity. Observation creates space. Watch it. Study it. Let it move through your system. Then decide, keep it, use it, or discard it. You're not trying to kill emotion. You're trying to govern it. Numbness is the death of energy. Neutrality is its leadership. 4. Emotional discipline in action. Neutrality isn't built in meditation rooms. It's built in real conflict. When someone insults you and you don't react, that's training. When chaos hits and you stay composed, that's mastery. When emotion flares and you respond with strategy, that's discipline embodied. The world rewards reaction because it's predictable. Neutrality is unpredictable. That's why it's powerful. No one can manipulate you when you control your tone. No one can dominate you when you decide your mood. No one can program you when your emotions are self-regulated. Here's the practice. Before every reaction, insert a pause. 3 seconds of silence. Enough to reset the nervous system. Enough to separate stimulus from response. Do this hundreds of times until it becomes automatic. Then you no longer try to stay calm. You are calm. Calm becomes your nature. And that's when you realize emotional neutrality is not absence. It's presence without turbulence. Discipline doesn't negotiate. 5. The state of unshakable presence. When you master neutrality, you become immovable. Not because nothing affects you, but because everything passes through you. You feel anger. You process it. It dissolves. You feel sadness. You acknowledge it. It fades. You feel joy. You enjoy it, but you don't depend on it. No emotion owns you anymore. You own every emotion. Neutrality is balance in motion, the calm at the center of chaos. It's the power to stand still while the world swings. People will call it cold. That's fine. They mistake calm for emptiness because they've never known peace. Let them. Their misunderstanding is proof of your mastery. You don't owe anyone emotional accessibility. You owe yourself composure. That's not detachment from life. That's dominion over it. Control is everything. You have a choice. You've learned the truth about neutrality, that control is not coldness, and composure is not suppression. You've turned emotion from enemy into instrument. Now it's time to build the environment that protects your new equilibrium, the boundaries that keep manipulation out. You've built neutrality. Now build defense. Chapter 5, The Fortress Mind. 1. Build walls before you need them. You don't build walls when the storm hits. You build them in the calm. Most people wait until chaos arrives to seek boundaries. By then, it's too late. The fortress mind is preemptive defense, preparation before attack. It's what separates those who survive pressure from those who collapse under it. Every day, your mind is invaded by noise, opinions, expectations, and manipulation. Without walls, every idea gets in. Every emotion gets through. Every distraction becomes damage. The fortress mind is not isolation. It's insulation. It's the barrier between you and the noise that wants to rewrite your focus. You don't need to shut the world out. You need to decide what gets in. 2. Guarding the gate. Every fortress has a gate. That gate is your attention. What enters through that gate defines your internal climate. Allow fear in, and fear spreads. Allow noise in, and silence dies. Allow manipulation in, and sovereignty fades. Most people leave the gate unguarded. They scroll, they react, they absorb, and they wonder why they feel invaded. Guarding the gate means filtering everything before it crosses your awareness. Every conversation, every headline, every digital feed either strengthens or weakens you. Here's the move. Pause before engaging. Ask one question. Does this serve my mission? If the answer is no, close the gate. You can't build peace from polluted inputs. You can't build focus from constant invasion. Guarding the gate is how you preserve clarity, because control of input equals control of state. 3. Architecture of focus. A fortress is more than walls. It's structure. It's design. The fortress mind is designed through daily discipline, routine, order, and mental architecture. Every repeated action becomes a brick. Every deliberate thought becomes mortar. You train the mind to stay contained, to operate inside strong structure. Without structure, focus leaks. Without rhythm, chaos wins. Here's what to do. Design a mental architecture of 3 layers. Layer 1, the inner chamber, time alone, silence, reflection. Layer 2, the training grounds, work, physical challenge, skill building. Layer 3, the outer wall, environment, boundaries, digital control. Together, they form a fortress that's not just defense, it's order. Because order is strength, and strength is peace. This is how you create mental space where distraction dies and clarity lives. 4. The siege of influence. Every fortress is tested. Pressure comes from the outside. The siege is constant. People will try to break your focus. They'll demand emotional access. They'll weaponize guilt, urgency, or noise. The weak crumble under siege because they want to be liked. The strong endure because they value integrity. When the world pressures you to react, hold position. When they provoke, stay still. When they beg for your attention, give them silence. This is psychological warfare, fought not with weapons, but with reaction. The one who reacts first loses control. That's why restraint is your armor, and boundaries are your walls. Here's what you do. When provoked, don't reply immediately. When pulled into drama, step back and breathe. When tempted to prove a point, remember, explanation is exposure. The fortress mind doesn't explain. It enforces. Discipline doesn't negotiate. 5. Peace through control. The purpose of the fortress isn't separation. It's strength. You build walls not to avoid life, but to meet life on your terms. Inside the fortress, there's peace. Not because nothing happens, but because everything is filtered through control. This is where power lives. Calm under chaos. Silence under pressure. Focus on a noise. The fortress mind operates on one principle: control yourself or be controlled. When you can maintain order inside, the outside loses leverage. No insult can destabilize you. No manipulation can redirect you. No distraction can divide you. You become immovable, not rigid but rooted, not numb but disciplined. This is real peace. Not peace from comfort, but peace from control. You have a choice. Build the walls. Guard the gate. Protect the mind. That's the path to sovereignty. That's the key. You've built the fortress. You've learned to guard the gate, structure the mind, and hold position under siege. Now it's time to take the next step, turning stillness and control into active dominance. Not just defense, but deliberate precision in action. You've mastered boundaries. Now master direction. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Detachment. 1. The weight of attachment. Attachment is invisible until it controls you. It hides in expectations, desires, and emotional hooks. You think you own things, but they own you. Every time you depend on an outcome, you give it power. Every time you chase approval, you hand over control. Every time you cling, you weaken. Attachment makes you reactive. Detachment makes you sovereign. The weak believe control comes from holding tighter. The strong know control comes from letting go. Detachment isn't disinterest. It's clarity. It's seeing everything without being owned by anything. The moment you detach, you become unpredictable and therefore unmanipulable. 2. Control through distance. When emotion grips, perspective dies. That's why detachment begins with distance. You can't see the battlefield from inside the fight. You must step back to see the pattern. Distance is the first layer of mastery. Physical, mental, and emotional separation from chaos. Here's the move. When triggered, don't act. When pulled, don't follow. When provoked, don't speak. Pause. Breathe. Observe. This pause creates mental altitude, the space where clarity lives. It's not weakness. It's weaponization. The detached mind doesn't react. It calculates. It decides. It executes. That's the difference between those who get pulled into every storm and those who steer through it. You have a choice: react from emotion or respond from position. Control is everything. 3. The equation of freedom. Freedom and attachment can't coexist. The more you cling, the more you're chained. You can't lead if you're led by what you crave. You can't think clearly if your worth depends on outcomes. You can't evolve if you need comfort to feel safe. The goal is not indifference. The goal is discipline, the ability to care without collapsing. Detach from praise. It's temporary. Detach from criticism. It's irrelevant. Detach from outcomes. They fluctuate. Your identity must live above approval, beyond success, outside circumstance. Imagine standing in the eye of a hurricane. Winds move, noise screams, but the center stays still. That's detachment, stillness in motion, freedom inside volatility. The more you detach from control, the more control you gain, because your stability no longer depends on what changes. That's the key. Discipline doesn't negotiate. 4. Emotional minimalism. Detach from excess. Not from life, but from noise. Emotional minimalism means you stop investing energy in what doesn't return power. You stop explaining yourself. You stop proving. You stop trying to be understood. Each unnecessary emotional exchange is a tax on focus. Each reaction is a leak in discipline. The minimalist mind asks one question before engaging. Does this strengthen or drain me? If it drains, it dies. You can't master the mind while feeding the noise. Silence is cheaper. Distance is cleaner. Detachment is wealth. Here's the move. Start practicing emotional fasting. No response to gossip. No participation in argument. No explanation to misunderstanding. You'll lose people who need your reaction to feel real. Let them go. What remains will be peace. Sharp, clear, and durable. Control is everything. You have a choice. 5. The power of selective engagement. Detachment isn't avoidance. It's strategy. The detached person still acts, but never impulsively. They speak when it matters. They move when it's time. They strike with precision. Selective engagement is what separates amateurs from masters. Amateurs react to everything. Masters choose their battles. Every unnecessary reaction wastes force. Every unchosen conflict weakens position. You don't need to fight every war. You need to win the right ones. That's why the detached mind is dangerous, because it never moves emotionally. It moves deliberately. Here's what to do. Before any response, ask, does this align with my mission? If not, stay silent. Detachment gives you control of time, energy, and narrative. It keeps you unseen while others burn their energy on noise. They react. You observe. They speak. You calculate. They burn. You build. That's how you win, through stillness, distance, and precise action. Detachment isn't retreat. It's dominance without motion. You've learned the discipline of detachment, how to care without craving, feel without folding, and move without reacting. You now operate above manipulation, guided by stillness and precision. Next, you'll learn how to use that stillness to influence the world, not through force, but through silent command. You've mastered distance. Now, a master presence. Chapter 7. The Power of Calm Command. 1. Calm is the highest form of power. Most people think power is noise, volume, force, aggression. They think control is dominance, not composure. They're wrong. Power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the man who speaks last. It's the woman who waits before deciding. Calm is not passivity. It's control in motion. It's the ability to hold your center when everyone else loses theirs. In chaos, people look to the calm. They follow the one who isn't shaking. That's authority, not from position, but from presence. When you master calm, you command without speaking. You influence without demanding. You lead without noise. 2. The physics of presence. Energy moves where attention goes. When you're calm, your energy stays contained. When you're reactive, your energy leaks. Every outburst, every argument, every emotional display leaks power. Every pause, every silence, every controlled breath builds it. This is the physics of presence. People feel your nervous system before they hear your words. If your energy is chaotic, your influence dies. If your energy is stable, your influence multiplies. Here's the move. Train your nervous system to be slower than your environment. When others rush, you pause. When others panic, you breathe. When others demand, you wait. Control of pace is control of power. The slowest person in the room leads the room. Calm is not weakness. It's weaponized stillness. 3. Command through silence. The highest form of communication is silence. It forces others to reveal themselves. Most people talk to fill the void. Masters use the void to expose the truth. Silence creates pressure. Pressure creates revelation. When you stop filling space, others show their insecurities. They overexplain. They justify. They stumble. You learn everything by saying nothing. This is calm command in practice. The strategic use of silence to control tempo, tension, and truth. Here's what you do. In any negotiation, argument, or conflict, let silence do the heavy lifting. Say your line. Then wait. Count the seconds. Feel the discomfort. Let them break first. The first to break silence always loses leverage. That's not theory. That's law. 4. The battlefield of emotion. Every social environment is an emotional battlefield. The goal isn't to win arguments. It's to control the emotional tone. He who controls emotion controls direction. He who reacts loses position. When people attack you, they're not seeking truth, they're seeking reaction. They want to pull you into their frequency. The moment you react, you're trapped in their frame. The calm commander never enters the enemy's emotional arena. He stands outside it, observes, decides, acts once with precision. This is psychological Aikido, using the opponent's energy against them. Someone insults you? Stay silent. Their words echo back into their own insecurity. Someone pressures you? Slow down. Their urgency becomes their disadvantage. Someone mocks your calm? Smile once. They'll wonder what you know that they don't. You win by never stepping into the storm. 5. Calm as command. When you master calm, people feel it before they understand it. They sense it in your posture, your timing, your tone. You radiate authority without noise. This is not arrogance. It's alignment. Calm command means you no longer fight for control. You are control. No one can rush you. No one can bait you. No one can move you without permission. That's what real leadership feels like, unshakable presence. The world obeys energy before it obeys logic. So stop trying to convince people with arguments. Convince them with composure. The calm person always wins because they never play the emotional game. They move from certainty, not approval. They act from principle, not pressure. And the result is simple. When you control your state, you control the room. When you control the room, you control the direction. When you control the direction, you control the outcome. That's command. That's mastery. That's the power of calm. You've mastered calm command, control through stillness, influence through silence, power through composure. Now it's time to take that calm and apply it under chaos, when pressure peaks and logic fades. You've learned to control yourself. Next, you'll learn to control your reactions in the storm. Chapter 8. The Pressure Protocol. 1. Pressure exposes what preparation hides. Pressure doesn't create weakness. It reveals it. Under calm, everyone seems disciplined. Under chaos, the truth shows. Pressure is the great unmasker. It strips away performance and leaves only training. When pressure rises, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of preparation. That's the rule. No one escapes it. Most people try to feel ready. They wait for confidence. They hope stress won't come. Then when it does, they panic. The elite know better. They train under tension. They practice chaos until chaos feels normal. You don't eliminate pressure. You adapt to it. You rewire your nervous system to operate under fire. 2. The body is the gateway. The first system that collapses under pressure is the body. Your heart races. Your breathing shortens. Your muscles tighten. You mistake physical reaction for real danger. But the body isn't the enemy. It's the access point to control. Here's the move. When pressure spikes, slow the breath. Inhale through the nose for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 6. Your physiology is the steering wheel. If you control it, you control the mind. If you ignore it, you lose the mind. This is not relaxation. It's recalibration. Control the breath. Loosen the grip. Stay inside your body. Pressure wants you to escape it. You master by staying. 3. Decision under fire. Under pressure, clarity dies first. That's why most people make catastrophic choices in chaos. They rush. They overthink. They freeze. Pressure distorts perception, makes small problems feel massive, and time feel short. Here's what the trained mind does. It collapses the moment into one question. What can I control right now? That question is the anchor. It shrinks chaos to scale. It forces logic to re-enter the room. In any crisis, the mind that simplifies fastest wins. You don't need all the answers. You need one controllable action. Move. Even a small move under control restores direction. Pressure thrives on paralysis. Action breaks paralysis. That's the protocol. When under fire, breathe, simplify, execute. 4. The threshold principle. Every system has a threshold. Your nervous system, your endurance, your focus. Pressure exposes that threshold. Weak people collapse when they hit it. Strong people extend it. Masters redefine it. Each time you operate just beyond your limit, the limit moves. That's growth. You build capacity not through success, but through strain. The gym proves it. You lift until the muscle trembles. You push until failure. It grows back stronger. The same principle governs mental toughness. Operate at the edge, fail cleanly, recover intentionally. Repeat. That's how you build pressure capacity, not through comfort, but through controlled strain. Here's the move. Expose yourself to manageable stress daily. Cold, hunger, time pressure, intensity. Stay calm. Recover fully. Expand the threshold. Pressure stops breaking you when it becomes your baseline. 5. Calm in the fire. The end game of pressure mastery is paradoxical. Calm inside chaos. Stillness while everything shakes. You don't wait for calm conditions. You bring calm with you. Imagine fire all around you, and inside, silence. That's mastery. The external world no longer dictates internal stability. At this level, pressure becomes data. Each spike tells you where the next upgrade lies. When others panic, you evaluate. When others retreat, you advance. When others break, you build. You stop fearing pressure because pressure becomes proof. Proof that your system works. Proof that your training holds. Proof that you've built something unshakable. The mind that masters pressure doesn't seek comfort. It seeks tests, because tests confirm strength. That's the discipline. That's the edge. That's the key. You've mastered the pressure protocol, the ability to stay composed under fire, to act when others freeze, to turn chaos into clarity. Now it's time to push further, to face not just external pressure, but internal resistance. You've controlled your environment. Now, you'll control your own limits. Chapter 9. Breaking the Inner Resistance. 1. The real enemy is internal. The hardest battles are never external. They happen in silence, inside your own head. The real enemy isn't competition. It's hesitation. It's the voice that whispers later. It's the comfort that pulls you back when it's time to move forward. Outer resistance is easy. You can see it, fight it, measure it. Inner resistance is invisible. It disguises itself as logic, fatigue, even self-care. But make no mistake, resistance is the most intelligent opponent you'll ever face. It knows your weaknesses. It speaks your language. It feeds your excuses. Every day, it waits at the edge of your comfort zone. And every time you choose ease, you feed it. You make it stronger. 2. The language of resistance. Resistance doesn't shout. It whispers. It sounds reasonable. I'll start when I feel ready. I need to plan more. I'll do it when things calm down. These aren't thoughts. They're traps. Delays disguised as strategy. Resistance lives in hesitation. And hesitation is just fear dressed as logic. Here's the move. When you hear that voice, label it. Say it out loud. That's resistance. Naming it separates you from it. It turns fog into target. You don't need to fight every emotion. You need to recognize its disguise. Once exposed, resistance loses power, because clarity kills deception. 3. The law of forward motion. Momentum kills resistance. That's the law. You can't think your way out of inertia. You act your way out. The longer you wait, the heavier it gets. The first step will always feel harder than the 10th. That's by design. The mind protects the familiar, even when the familiar is destroying you. So move. Immediately, before you feel like it. Start small, but start. Open the document. Put on your shoes. Pick up the phone. Send a message. Action is an exorcism. It drives resistance out of the body. Every act of movement breaks the spell. Every second of delay feeds it. 4. Pain is proof of progress. The moment you start moving, resistance transforms. It stops whispering. It starts screaming. That's how you know you're close to breakthrough. Pain means progress. Discomfort means you're finally doing something real. The weak mistake this pain for a stop sign. The strong recognize it as signal. You're entering new territory. The body aches. The mind protests. The fear rises. That's the toll you pay to level up. You can't evolve without friction. You can't expand without pressure. You can't grow without pain. Pain is the currency of transformation. Resistance charges interest for every step toward mastery. Pay it willingly. Every repetition under discomfort builds evidence that you can endure, and that evidence becomes confidence. You don't need motivation. You need proof. Proof that you can handle the work. Pain gives you that proof. 5. The breakthrough habit. Breaking resistance is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle, a habit of daily confrontation. Each day, you'll face the same wall: hesitation, fear, fatigue, doubt. And each day, you'll break it again. This repetition builds immunity. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once felt heavy becomes light. Here's the move. Create non-negotiable rituals. Wake up early. Train daily. Build something every day. Finish what you start. Ritual replaces motivation. Structure kills resistance before it speaks. The goal isn't to feel ready. It's to move regardless. You don't wait for inspiration. You generate it through discipline. That's how warriors live. That's how leaders rise. That's how resistance dies. You've learned to break inner resistance, to see hesitation as the enemy, to act before emotion, to move through fear rather than wait for its absence. Now it's time for the final phase, converting all this control into dominance, where your mind becomes immune to external forces entirely. You fought the inner war. Now you'll rule the battlefield. Chapter 10. Mental Sovereignty. 1. The final stage of power. The highest form of control isn't over others. It's over yourself. When your mood no longer depends on anyone else, you've reached sovereignty. When your peace can't be stolen, your power can't be challenged. That's freedom. Most people live as emotional tenants. Their state of mind is rented to the opinions, moods, and actions of others. They wake up happy until someone disrespects them. They feel confident until someone disapproves. They give away their emotional real estate one reaction at a time. Sovereignty means ownership. You reclaim every inch of mental territory. You decide what enters, what stays, and what leaves. Nothing external gets to dictate your internal world again. 2. Build the fortress mind. Sovereignty begins with architecture. You build your mind like a fortress. Strong walls, controlled gates. No open windows for manipulation to crawl through. Every fortress needs discipline as foundation. Without discipline, emotion floods the walls. Without structure, noise breaks through. Here's the move. Audit your inputs. Every message, headline, conversation, it all programs you. Delete the weak sources. Mute the reactive voices. Curate what enters your mind like a sovereign guards their borders. Then fortify the inside. Morning silence before screens. Daily routines that root you. Practices that remind you, this is my domain. You're not protecting your peace. You're enforcing your jurisdiction. 3. Master the emotional economy. Every reaction is a transaction. Every thought is cost. Every emotion spends energy. Sovereign minds spend intentionally. The weak waste endlessly. Think of your focus as currency. Most people are bankrupt, drained by outrage, distraction, and comparison. They react to everything and wonder why nothing moves forward. Here's the law. You can't invest in growth if you're paying emotional debt. Stop spending energy on offense, gossip, defense, validation. Reallocate everything to power moves. Learning, building, executing, resting. Emotional immunity isn't numbness. It's selective engagement. You stop responding to noise because you've priced your attention too high for it. Every moment of calm is profit. Every reaction avoided is interest earned. That's sovereignty, controlling your emotional economy like an empire, not a charity. 4. The law of detachment. Sovereignty requires detachment, not for people, from dependence. You can love deeply, but not lose yourself in love. You can work fiercely, but not worship the outcome. You can serve others, but never surrender your identity to their approval. That's the balance. Connection without control, empathy without absorption, focus without fixation. Detach from outcome, and your execution becomes pure. Detach from recognition, and your discipline becomes permanent. Detach from validation, and your peace becomes indestructible. Here's the move. Before every action, ask, if this fails, will I still respect myself? If the answer is yes, you're free. Because now your worth isn't tied to results, it's tied to alignment. Detachment doesn't weaken ambition. It purifies it. It removes desperation and replaces it with precision. The detached mind executes sharper because it's no longer fighting fear of loss. 5. The sovereign state. At full mastery, reaction ends. You respond, but you no longer react. You move from your own loss. Not emotion, not approval, not fear. The sovereign mind is silent inside. No noise, no panic, only observation, command, and execution. This is mental sovereignty, when no one can move you without permission. People will test it. They'll provoke, criticize, misunderstand. You'll stay centered, because your inner climate is no longer up for negotiation. You control your weather. You choose your temperature. You decide your storms. At this stage, peace isn't something you protect. It's something you project. Your presence regulates the room. Your energy becomes the gravity others orbit around. And that's the summit of emotional immunity, when control of self becomes control of circumstance. The war is over. You won, because you no longer need to fight. That's sovereignty. That's mastery. That's power. You started by learning how to observe instead of absorb. You learned that emotion is a weapon, and calm is the shield. You trained through silence, through pressure, through pain. You built resilience. Then you built command. Now you've built sovereignty. You no longer chase peace, you generate it. You no longer beg for control, your control. You no longer fear manipulation, because no one can access your center. From this moment forward, let one law guide you. Your reaction decides your reality. Choose stillness. Choose discipline. Choose control. Because when you rule the mind, you rule the world. That's emotional immunity. That's sovereignty. That's freedom.